Hey, everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here. The Final Four is set. We have made history for the first time in 17 years. The Final Four will consist of all one seeds. Duke, Auburn, Florida, and Houston all advanced through their brackets in a variety of different ways. But these were the four best teams coming into this tournament. If there was ever going to be a year where they would, it's hard to believe that this is only the second time since the tournament expanded to 64 teams that all one seeds are going to make up the Final Four. The chalkiest of chalk seasons, there was only one 3 seed in the Elite Eight, but otherwise it was one versus two. These, like I said, these were the four best teams the entire year. But I want to take it a step further because first off, it's history. Second of all, they're doing it in San Antonio, which is where it was 17 years ago, almost on the same exact timeline, day wise. But here's what's crazy about this Final Four. Ken Palm is a metric that measures how good a team is in terms of they factor in a bunch of different numbers. And it's been going on since the 96-97 season. So this dates back nearly 30 years. The top 10 teams, according to Ken Palm, in the history of this metric, which is, like I said, almost 30 seasons, the Final Four this season composed 4 out of the 10 best teams, according to Ken Palm. The Duke is the highest according to this metric. They're number 2 at 39.6, behind the 98-99 Duke team that was plus 43. And I don't even think that team won the championship that year, which is just insane. But Duke, then Houston at 6, Florida at 8, and then Auburn at 10. 4 out of the top 10 teams of all time, according to Ken Palm, since that rating came into existence, are in this year's Final Four. If you want to complain about, oh, there was no Cinderellas, there's no upsets, you've got the 4 best teams that have all grinded through and won 4 matchups to get to this. It's going to take 6 wins to win a championship, so somebody's going to have to win 2. And however this shakes out, it's going to be an outstanding Final Four. And to me, just based off of the numbers and just based off what these teams have accomplished this year, these are the 4 best teams this year. And this is maybe the best Final Four in the history of this event. And that is saying a lot. There's been a lot of great teams. But to have a metric that statistically says 4 out of the 10 best teams in the history of Ken Palm are in this Final Four, that is just amazing. You've got maybe the best college basketball player that has come across. Some people will say Zion Williamson, but Cooper Flagg is one of the best college basketball players. He's going to be one of the most sought after NBA draft prospects in modern times since the days of LeBron. And I mean, obviously I'll say from a college perspective and an American born perspective, Cooper Flagg is it. You've got Janai Broome, who was one of the best players in college basketball. He's been one of the best players in college basketball the last 2 years. And then, Walter Clayton has quietly become like this silent assassin for Florida. He brought Florida back from the dead against Texas Tech. Sorry, Andrew. And then Houston with Kelvin Sampson is probably the best coach in the sport right now. It's just it's coaching. It's just the way the efficiency of these teams, what they've won against high level competition. This is everything that you want from a Final Four. And I can't wait to see this thing go down in San Antonio because, like I said, you've got the 4 best teams. These were the 4 best teams according to the AP poll coming into this tournament. These were the top 4 ranked teams. It showed in how they were seeded. And accordingly, they went through their own different challenges. Houston had to basically play effectively a road regional against Purdue in the Sweet 16. And then they had to play Tennessee, which regionally was more of an advantage for them. Now Houston effectively kind of has a home field edge in the Final Four with it being played in San Antonio. So, and then, like I said, before this event, I said it here on this channel, I had Florida winning the whole thing because their size, their versatility, how they'd been playing coming in. And I just had some general concerns about Cooper Flagg and the health of his ankle. He has completely eased those concerns. I had Houston and I had Auburn out of this just because I wanted to be different. And I had Michigan State and Tennessee to this round. So, but but I'm going to tell you guys right now, I got Duke winning the whole thing. Their side. This one thing that needs to be understand needs to be stated for the record is this is not just a Cooper Flag and friends type of thing. This is not like your stereotypical freshman team that, gets to a certain point and, is really built on their freshmen. Like they've got great freshmen, but a lot of people are under the impression that, this was just a Cooper Flag led operation. This was not. Con Knipple has made himself a ton of money. Like Tyrese Proctor's been there for a long time. Cayman Malawach is just a friggin' massive human being. They've just got dudes all over the place. They filled it out with transfers, Zion James. You've got Caleb Foster who's been around there. Like it's just like this team is just so freaking well rounded. They've got so many big and tall dudes. Like they took a team in Alabama who had hit 25 threes and easily crossed over 100 points. And I think they held them to like 65 points in the Elite Eight game. Like this Duke team is on a different level. Florida has been tested, and I think that could come into play. They had not been tested in large chunks for most of this, for in large places during the season. Obviously, being in the SEC helps, being tested. But a lot of people thought, hey, as a 1 seed, hey, they're gonna be able to coast through this because they're so talented. And then, hey, UConn almost beats them in the second round. They almost get beaten, probably should have been beaten by Texas Tech, but Texas Tech left the door open and ultimately led to that. Houston, dominates an SEC opponent to get there. Duke, has really been, unchallenged for most of this. Arizona made it a little bit interesting. And then Auburn, hey, they've really just been a dominant team and they've won against really high level competition. This is a tough thing to call. Like I could see any one of these four winning it because you just don't know how these games are going to go. But right now, I think Duke is the best team. They've been the best team for most of the season. The knock on them has been, their conference, but they played a strong out of league schedule and they've got the best player. And I think they've got the best well-rounded team. And it's just like, my big concerns going into this were the injuries on that team. Malik Brown, it really hasn't even shown up, even though Malik Brown's barely played. And then Cooper Flag just looks like he's been fine. And even in that case, you've got Knipple and some of these other guys. They just wear you out. And to do what they did against a really strong Alabama team was just so impressive. Arizona kept coming at them. They dominated them. Like this Duke team has just been super, super impressive, especially when they won the ACC tournament without Cooper Flag for 2 full games, which is just wild to think about. I mean, they almost gave away the game against North Carolina. It took a lane violation for them to get out of that one. But this is as good of a team as you're going to find. According to the metrics, I read it to you. They're the second best team according to KenPom in the last 30 years of that metric being in existence. That being said, they're going to have to get through, if they're going to win the national title, they're going to have to beat 2 of the 10 best in order to get that done. Like whatever the case may be, whoever wins this Final Four is going to be one of the historically best teams to ever play this game because they will have won a national championship against a field that is as stacked as there ever been. But anybody who wants to complain about, hey, this was not like an exciting tournament, go back and watch some of these other games, and you're going to get some really high-level competition with these 4 number 1 seeds playing in the Final Four. And truly, you're going to find maybe the greatest team to ever play college basketball. The top level of this sport is outstanding. So I can't wait to see this. We'll have more in-depth stuff on this Final Four coming towards the back half of the week. Might be able to try and, squeeze in maybe a special guest or two to break this down. We'll see. Obviously, Final Four is a crazy week, but yeah, I got Duke winning the whole thing. They're the best team left in this thing. Florida would be an interesting. They've already played Duke, so and also they got to get past Houston. Houston's just the toughest hell team with, again, I think the best coach in the sport. So anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.